Classic mistake. Oh hey, didn't see you there. You're probably wondering, what are we doing?
And how did we do it?
Well, it's funny you ask, because we actually made an NFC chessboard. Well, you're probably wondering, how did we make this chessboard? Well, the first part of the board is the
board itself, and the 3D modeled pieces.
The board actually comes in at around 18 by 18 inches, which is pretty girthy for a board. You might be wondering, why did we make it 18 by 18? Well, each square needed to be 2 inches by 2 inches to support these girthy characters right here. So what we did is we cut it into 4 pieces so that it would fit in the laser printer, and then printed this design on it. Leah, what program did we use to make the design?
In order to make the design, we used Tinkercad for all of the 3D models, which, although very simple, does allow for some fairly complicated organic geometry.
Then we used Gravit for the board. It was pretty hard to be able to print all 32 of these models, and you're probably wondering, how did we do this? Well, we just pretty much took over every laser printer that was available. And then to get the board back together, we made biscuit joints, which besides being our favorite food, is, you know, pretty useful. So Leah, how does the NFC work?
The NFC is fairly straightforward. Every single piece has a small, every single piece has a small tag on the bottom that stores NFC data. The second part is a Raspberry Pi connected to an NFC reader. When placed on the reader, the Raspberry Pi can pull and use data to show an image and a name stored on the tag of every single piece.
Now you're probably wondering to yourself right now at home, you know, you guys had to have specific challenges, and how did you work through, parentheses, them? Well, Leah, what would you say one of our challenges was?
One with the board was that at 18 by 18, it's
Girthy.
a little too girthy.
It's
Too
girthy.
girthy.
Before we were saying nothing's too girthy, and now it's
too girthy.
Too girthy.
It doesn't fit in the laser printer.
It doesn't fit.
So we were forced to cut it into 4 smaller pieces, and that resulted in our biscuit joint solution.
Another huge problem we had, you know, 3D printing, that takes forever. Well, what we did, one printer could print 4 pieces at a time. Okay, that's good. And then, you know, every available printer, we just take over, you know. And, you know, if I had to say we had a third problem, I think getting the NFC coding to work. Leah, you worked a bit more with the coding than I did. What would you say was the biggest challenge in that
The
aspect?
problem with the NFC is that it doesn't run on just any computer. It won't work on Mac, and setting it up on a Windows PC is weird and confusing. So instead we used a Linux device, which is why we went with the Raspberry Pi.
Now you're probably wondering, what materials did we use? Well, to answer that, we used an NFC reader, NFC tags with an NFC chip in them, 3D printer mold things, and then wood. Leah, how did we find this specific wood?
This specific wood? Well, we wanted it to be thinner so that we could get a little bit more detail out of the laser cutter.
More detail.
But also it can't be too thin because the biscuit joints are sizable enough to where they're girthy. Even compared to our board, they're girthy.
How do you think this product, I would say, because, you know, this could be definitely something that's
this is potential.
We do have buyers, but
buyers.
How did it change from the prototype?
How did it change from the prototype? Originally, we wanted the board itself to be one piece and to be a larger board with a box in it.
And like place to store the characters.
Place to store the characters.
But that was too ambitious.
That was too ambitious. We just didn't have the time for it when we spent so much time working on models
And NFC stuff.
and NFC. We ended up with just a much simpler version of our board.
What would you say was the biggest thing you learned and took away from this project? Because, you know, it was a long project. It combined everything we ever did in this class, besides, of course, cardboard work.
Right.
Unless, you know, because, yeah. But what would you say you took away? Like, because, you know, we're always building on these skills that we learned. And, you know, like, no matter what, you're never done learning. You're always going to grab new skills and deduce new things from what you do. So what would you say you learned?
That's a good question. Getting to review Python and NFC, that was a lot of fun. Let's see.
I would say I took away a lot of skills from 3D modeling. Because even though it's such a simple design, I really learned how to use organic designs. And what I really learned is to like look at different images and stuff and base off that. Because when I just thought of what Yoshi looked like, I was having a lot of trouble. But when I actually started to look at like photos of Yoshi or like 3D models that Nintendo had of Yoshi, I was actually able to like shape it up and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm very happy with how we did on this project and everything we built, and I think yeah.
I think we struggled towards the end, but then we pulled it together.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
All right, well, I'll continue beating you at chess then.
Classic mistake.
Bye.